Welcome to the Sean Show. My name is Sean. Remember to like, share, and subscribe. It does a lot here for the channel. If you are listening to us on a podcast network, make sure you subscribe to that podcast network. Does a lot for us there as well too. Listen, we here at the Sean Show have been. I say we, I mean me. It's a whole bunch of us now. We've been talking a lot about pro wrestling here. Um, if you don't follow, if this is the first time you seeing me, we cover all sports, but we've been focusing primarily on pro wrestling. So if you're interested in that, please check that out on the channel. But that's what we've primarily been talking about. I wanted to speak about the NBA because number one, it's my favorite sport. And number two, I wanted to wait as close as possible before the season started. But I think now is the best day is the best chance to speak about this should be now because a lot is going on. So before I started taping this, and this is 10/13, the week of 10/13/2021. Before I started taping this, I saw on the news or Twitter that the Brooklyn Nets have decided not to offer Kyrie Irving an extension to his contract. Earlier, a few days ago, the whole story was that the Brooklyn Nets were not going to have Kyrie Irving a part of training camps, practices, scrimmages, anything that had to do with the team, unless he was fully. And I'm gonna be careful saying there's certain terminologies here because on YouTube they're flagging everything, even if it sounds wrong. So I'm just gonna come up with my own terminology. We're not gonna say anything crazy, but I just don't want, of course, this to be flagged for the wrong reason. So he did not get I'm trying to think of a word for it. I heard a show called it the whoop-de wham. So that's what we're going to say. He did not get the whoop-de wham in his arm. So because he did not get the whoop-de wham and he's not fully whoop-de whammed, I guess it's the plural of whoop-de wham, then they did not allow him on premises or to be around the team or to, be a part of team activities and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. There's a lot of layers to this story. And if you listen to the sports media, that the mainstream media, that obviously they have someone they have to answer to. They have a boss that they have to answer to. They have a corporation that they have to keep happy. Me, I am not that. I am me. And I'm going to give you my honest opinion of what I feel about this particular situation. But before we go into honest opinions, I always like to talk about the fact. So I'm going to bring up this article right now of what exactly they're saying. So this article speaks about the this is from Yahoo Sports, and this speaks about the Nets not offering the extension. I'm going to go into detail of this, and then I'm going to, of course, talk about the upcoming NBA season. But this just came in, so I just want to go ahead and talk about this. Okay, so a day after the Brooklyn Nets announced that Kyrie Irving won't play in any games as long as he is in violation of New York City's whoop-de-wham requirement, the Athletic Shams Corona, I think I'm pronouncing that right, reports that the team won't offer him a $186 million contract extension that he's eligible to sign. Clearly, at the end of the day, that is not something they felt that they wanted to do. He's talking about Brooklyn's option to play Irving on road games this season, where he'll be eligible regardless of his status. He was willing to sacrifice, at the end of the day, $16 million in salary this upcoming year and $186 million as far as an extension That he will not be offered now. A lot, most assuredly, will change between now and then. But even if he maintains his stance and further deteriorates his relationship with the Nets, he's putting at risk more than 200 million that would otherwise be guaranteed. There's no reason to believe that the Nets wouldn't offer Irving the extension under normal circumstances. Okay. Now, this is where it gets into my opinion. And like I was saying, what other, news outlets and stuff won't talk about and things of that nature. And that's freedom of choice. Freedom of choice really becomes difficult here now. Now, before we have in the comments, everyone, speaking about, you should do this or you should do that, or you should, I'm not here to have that type of discussion. I'm not here to have that type of discussion. Whatever you want to do personally in your life, for your family, for your loved ones, you should be able to do it. It is unfortunate that we're in the day and age where those type of choices are no longer allowed. I'm saddened to hear that people no longer have the choice in some cases. And I'm not going to paint the picture that no one has a choice, but if you are working at a certain place and you decide to do something or not do something, that place that employs you can decide to do something or not do something. That is basically the world that we're in right now. But I really hate that it's kind of forcing your hand to do one thing compared to the other thing. Um, what the networks are not talking about is that reasoning, is that fact, that individuals should be allowed to make these decisions on their own. And if they do make those decisions, it should be supported. It should be encouraged. It should be something that is done that makes everyone then comfortable, from a safety standpoint, and then also from a team aspect standpoint, that making a decision like this. um I'm gonna kind of push this away here because it's kind of making noise here, sorry. Making a decision like this is going to uh, not cause any internal conflict between the people who do get the whoopty wham and the people who don't get the whoopty wham. You understand what I'm saying? So that's not where we're at. The NBA has really stacked the deck where you have to get it if you want to continue to make money, if you want to continue to be on these teams. Because if you, let's say, for example, went to a city or state, well, right now, I believe it's just New York and California where I stay at, um, you have to have it to participate in these type of events. Um, you should not be punished if you don't have it, but they are punishing you. They're not making any type of, resolution or a plan A or plan B plan. Like the NBA literally said that we were going to take money away from you if you don't get the whoop de wham. And that's the prerogative of the corporation, right? And that's also the prerogative of the player. Now the thing is that if it's the prerogative of the corporation and it's the prerogative of the player, where's the leverage? Who has the biggest leverage? I think that Kyrie Irving thought that he had the biggest leverage going into this thing. I think that he really believed that him taking the stance that he took, that I'm going to do what I want, I'm going to play these many games, that's fine by me. I'm going to sit out this long, that's fine by me. I'm going to miss out, I think they said on $16 million. That's fine by me. Those were that was the stance basically of Mr. Irving. And from his standpoint, his leverage was okay, well, they're going to want me to play in every game. I'm gonna give them 50 one night, and then the next two nights where they're on the road, they're gonna have a hard time, against a team that's excited to play them. Because you know what always happens when you have a contender and they're going up against a young upstart team, then that young upstart team is going to play them like his game seven of the NBA playoffs. So I think that's where he thought his leverage was. He believed that's where his leverage was. But in actuality, that wasn't the case. In actuality, right? His leverage doesn't exist. Doesn't exist. It's not around. It's not there because the deck was stacked against him so much and against players so much who didn't get the whoop de wham that it was very difficult to go any other way. And I think there should have been a middle ground. There wasn't. I think there should have been, like I said, some type of plan B for those type of players. There was not. And I just think it should be a fair choice, which I don't believe it was a fair choice. Andrew Wiggins said that, he had no other choice. He could not play. It was the same situation as Kyrie. He had absolutely no choice. And he just went ahead and got the whoop de win because he had to. If he wanted to play, if he wanted to continue collecting his money. I think afterwards he said it's about legacy, meaning that I'm not going to leave all these millions of dollars on the table because I didn't want to get the whoop de wham, right? So I just think that the NBA being as inclusive as they are on a lot of issues, that they should have came up with some type of middle ground for those players that were not going to do it, because it made it very difficult to have any other thought or opinion but to actually get the whoop de wham. So that's what you're not going to hear on the networks, that there should be a middle ground. Every company, every corporation, I believe, should not be so extreme in one way or extreme the other way. Let's meet in the middle. And if you decide not to get it, there may be some extra set of rules or compliances that you have to follow, that you may not had to follow if you got the whoop de wham. So if you did something like that, I think a lot of people wouldn't have a problem. But unfortunately, that's not what the case is. So the bigger story, though, is the contract extension, because I don't know what the contract extension has to do with what's currently going on right now. During the summer, I'm very sure that they offered Kevin Durant, James Harden, and Kyrie Irving the same opportunity for a contract extension. I'm very sure of it. James Harden stated that he wanted to be a free agent, which was shocking to me because, this is a wonderful situation here. If you're a Brooklyn Net and you're playing with Kevin Durant and you're playing with a super free flowing offense that D'Antoni, he had a hand in that. He's no longer a consultant, but with the Nets, but he had a hand in creating this very free flowing offensive set. If you've seen them play, the ball moves from side to side to side to side. It's like the Warriors at their peak, but I think the difference is there's more one-on-one play. When Kevin Durant was there at the Warriors, during the Warriors, when what happened and if it became difficult to score, then they just basically gave KD the ball on the block and told him to go to work. Had him do one-on-one. This is a hybrid because the way that they play like they're like, listen, we can take you one-on-one. We can move the ball. And every single Kyrie can take you one-on-one. KD can take you one-on-one. James Harden can take you one-on-one. This is three different sides of the court where they can break you down defensively and score the basketball one-on-one effectively throughout the entire game. And then they can still take the ball, kicking and swinging. Got a guy like Joe Harris coming off the bench that is like, You can kick it and swing it to him. He's a sniper. Like this is a fantastic offensive set. I'm very shocked, very, very shocked that for whatever reason, James Harden said that he does not want to sign this extension. He wants to experience free agency. If he's a free agent, I have really no idea where else he would go unless he wants to go to a place where he's a focus and centerpiece. Where that place would be, I don't know. I mean, obviously, he has a relationship with Daryl Morey. Um, I would not be surprised if he would look into playing in LA in the Clippers. Just imagine James Harden, Kawhi Leonard, and Paul George. Ooh, that's ugh, that's sick. That's gonna be hard to beat. But he would possibly be open to that, playing behind a billionaire owner. I mean, Kawhi signed there an extension. PG signed an extension. They need somebody to handle the ball. Both of these, Kawhi is not a point guard. Um, PG is not a point guard. They need somebody to handle the ball. He would fit seamlessly into that system. Maybe that's where his mind state is possibly going to the Clippers. But why would you want to leave? And it comes to my mind, the conclusion that comes to my mind is that this Kyrie Irving thing is a bigger problem than what is being perceived. If you think about last season, last season we had a playoff that basically was the survival of the fittest, meaning that a lot of the individuals that went deep into playoffs didn't even make it to the conference finals because it was such a shortened season. You literally played in October and stopped. No, actually, no. You in 2019, that season started in October, and then the season stopped in March, I believe. Yeah, stopped in March. Then are we going to do it? Or are we not going to do it? Are we going to do it? Or are we not going to do it? Are we going to do it? Or are we not going? So it literally was going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And then they decided to start the season in a bubble and in October in Florida. So then you play your heart out in October, only to find out that, hey, we're going to be starting again in December, by the way. And we're going to have a whole season that's going to go to June. So a lot of guys were burnt out, a lot of injuries. It was just not a good season, in my opinion, last season. So now everyone's fully rested. We're having, a lot of guys. I mean, we're having Klay Thompson come back. I mean, we have the Lakers, which we'll get to. We have all these things going on with this new season. And the season that I was referring to, where it was shortened, or not shortened, I'm sorry, when it was awkward because you're starting again so fast, so soon. When the James Harden trade started, now before that, the Nets were favored to be, I think they were number 2 behind the Lakers to win a championship because it was the battle of the big two. It was KD and Kyrie against LeBron James and AD. And because the Lakers had won a championship, you kind of gave them that championship, the championship favor, I guess you can say, the championship advantage. That's the word I'm looking for, because they won a championship previously. So you give that to them. And the Nets were right under them. Once they got James Harden, the betting odds went through the roof. This was a perfect opportunity with everything that was going on, with the top teams not being at full strength and beat up. This was the perfect opportunity at this point in time to go deep and win a championship. But the problem is the big three would never be on the floor. And James Harden, I understand because he was injured. Kevin Durant, and I understand because remember, he was coming off that Achilles. So, he had, I think, an Achilles strain and left him out of a few weeks during the season. So they were very slowly trying to get him reacclimated to NBA speed, NBA basketball. But Kyrie decided that he was not going to do that. Kyrie decided that he was going to take some personal days. And if I'm James Harden, who has a reputation in Houston of not being the most ready to come to work guy, if I'm James Harden and I'm looking at Kyrie Irving sideways, then there has to be a bigger problem here than what we perceive. One thing I do agree with the analysis on with these sports broadcasters is they're saying that Katie and James Harden were okay with Brooklyn taking the stance that they took because they were tired of the mess their own selves. And that says a lot. It says a lot that you would be tired of a teammate to the point that you're okay if that teammate doesn't play at all this season. That's crazy. I can't put my finger on it, but I think there's some other trouble brewing in the back that James Harden don't want no part of. He don't want no part of it. So the Nets situation is a mess right now. But if he gets the whoop-de-wham, then everybody's, oh, well, they're the championship favorites. The extension comes back on the table and everything is great. The question is now is Kyrie going to sign the extension? Does he feel offended that you decided to just kick me out? Because now that leverage comes back. If he gets the whoop-de-wham and he decides to come back, right? But he says, I don't know if I'm going to sign an extension. Doesn't the power go back to him? Isn't that leverage now? Because what if he made the statement of, you know what, I'm not going to retire if I'm traded. Doesn't that leverage go back to him again? See, KD's locked in. So I think the Nets are like, well, we got the best player in the world, in our opinion. So we can build around him. Maybe we can convince James to stay. But Kyrie, I think it's some stuff that's going on that is just too deep to fix, and it's beyond the whoop-de-wham. So now I want to talk about. I spent like the whole show talking on that, so I just want to go through quickly. I don't want to take all your time. I just want to go through quickly here on the NBA. My predictions. Um, we were talking about the Lakers, so let's talk about the Lakers again. Last night was the first time that the big three, Russell Westbrook, Anthony Davis, LeBron James, took the floor. I'm not going to go over stats because it's a preseason. Stats don't matter. Not going to go over turnovers because it's a preseason. But I will go over the eye test. And the eye test shows me that this is going to be more difficult than I think a lot of people originally thought. As I saw them playing, and this is my concern, as I saw them playing, I was very concerned of the spacing as well as the offensive game plan getting ready to go into the NBA season. I was very concerned about it. I'm going to tell you why. If you look at the clips, I can't put the clip on here, but if you look at the clip, or if you're listening on podcast, please look it up. Highlights of that game. You will see what Russell Westbrook's role was. His role was a bona fide shooting guard. That was his role. There were times in the game where literally he was on the wing waiting for the ball to be passed to him. LeBron was the decision maker. When LeBron sat down, then that's when Westbrook became the decision maker. The problem is this, and it's very simple. Who's going to be your point guard? If it's LeBron James, great. I applaud that is LeBron. Great choice. But if it's Russell, I applaud that as well too. Why? Because remember, he averaged a triple double, I think, within the last 3 NBA seasons. What does that mean? That means a triple double means that it's 10 assists a game. So he does know how to pass the ball. Does know how to pass the ball. But the problem is that the styles of LeBron James compared to Russell Westbrook is very shockingly jarring to the system. LeBron is an assassin. He's going to take apart whoever's in front of them. He's going to tell that person to move here, cut here, give a screen here, get them open for a shot, or drive and take the ball himself. He's a surgeon out there. Russell Westbrook is a Tasmanian devil. He is just going to go full bore, straight ahead and hard. That's what he's going to do. He's going to hit you hard in your freaking mouth. And he is going to drive. His first option is to drive. When he gets the ball, he is going to drive. At half court, he will drive. At full court, he will drive. When he's going home, he's getting into the car to drive. When he gets home in his house, he goes upstairs, turns on his PlayStation 5 or Xbox Elite, and he turns on a driving game. That is what Russell Westbrook does, is drive. So if he's driving and LeBron is doing the surgeon thing, then how exactly is this going to work? Because I'm not sure. I'm confused. Because that means that Russell, when LeBron is on the court, is now a shooter. And his three-point percentage is trash. It's trash. That means if Russell Westbrook is the point guard, then LeBron becomes a shooter, and his three-point percentage is better, but it's still trash. So how in the heaven or the hell is this going to work out long term? You see, AD is simple. All he has to do is be open, get himself open. He'll catch a lob from Rondo. He'll catch a lob from none. He'll catch a lob from LeBron or Westbrook. It doesn't matter. He just has to get himself in position on that low block and go to work. It's easy for him. But when it comes to the point guard situation, there's a difficulty. Now, the question is it difficult to the point that there's going to be an in-season trade with Westbrook to another team? Because we've tried this experiment before. Remember when Magic Johnson was the GM / president of the Lakers, then his job, he said, is that he wanted to have LeBron all the pressure off of him. So he wanted to put some playmakers around him. And with him having playmakers around him, it was supposed to take the pressure off of him, and he was going to play more off the ball. That was year one, and we didn't make it to the playoffs. Now, mind you, there was no AD at the time. I'll give you that. I'll give you that. But you had Lonzo Ball, very capable point guard. You had Rondo, very, very capable point guard. You had BI, Brandon Ingram, not a point guard, but a playmaker. So you had the tools in place to try to make this work, and it just didn't work. Just did not work. So that's where the difficulty that I see is that we've played this song before, and it just didn't work because LeBron and the surgical approach was what won them an NBA championship as the Los Angeles Lakers. LeBron, his entire career being the surgeon and dissecting defenses is what made the any team that he was a part of, championship contenders or championship winners. So it's very difficult to say that this is going to work because I'm not sure. Defensively wasn't good. Offensive spacing was not good. Shots were not falling, but shots will fall. But the fundamental stuff, all that looked bad. Because the Nets, what they have is they have 3 people that can shoot from anywhere on the court. Anywhere on the court. They don't need to be in a spot or in a block. You can put them anywhere and they can make that shot, no problem. And that's what I think is the difficulty of the Los Angeles Lakers moving forward in this year, this season. Listen, I just saw the time on the show, so I'm going to go ahead and end today's show. I wanted to talk further, but that Kyrie Irving thing really screwed me up. It really screwed me up. I had to talk about it. So I tell you what, we're going to talk about the NBA season. I'm going to probably let the first week or so play out, and then we're going to come back and I'm going to tell you about my sleeper picks and stuff of that nature. But I definitely wanted to talk about this Kyrie situation in a perspective that you're not allowed to talk about. And I definitely wanted to speak about this Lakers situation because the Lakers right now, there is so much work that has to be done to try to make this team good. So much work. And they have they have a deep rotation of players. I give them that 110%. But are they the right players? Are they the right fit? Is Frank Vogel, because their offensive system is so simplistic, it is not a complex system like the Warriors. And there's no disrespect to Frank because his is good old classic pick and roll basketball with some tweaks here and there, with some triangle concepts and stuff like that here and there. Don't get me wrong. But the Warriors is like reading algebra. You know, when Steph runs around the court and runs back and then runs back again and stuff, that's a play. That's not just him just running like he's crazy. And when he runs, then Clay's supposed to go over here, and then Draymond's supposed to come over here, and then it's nuts. Will be very interesting. This has been the Sean Show. If you like what you heard, I would love to have you if you subscribed. I would love to have it if you comment down below because I'd love to hear your thoughts. I answer every single thing that has commented down below. I'd love to hear what you think about the Lakers and the Nets, their problems this year. I guess this is going to be the Lakers and Nets focus show. Do you think the Lakers are in trouble? Do you think that the Kyrie Irving and the Nets will have a fruitful relationship moving forward, even if he does get the whoop de wham? Is there going to be a contract that's offered? Is it going to be a contract that's signed? I'd love to hear your comments and thoughts down below. And thank you for watching the Sean Show. And I will see you here next time. Peace.